Welcome to the Galeon stand at Boot Düsseldorf 2023, where behind me here is one of their big new launches at the show, the brand new Galeon 440 Fly. Now, we've seen some of the things that Galeon have done before with their really clever folding platforms, and they've managed to incorporate an awful lot of that onto this boat here. So prices start at €692,100 ex VAT, but realistically, by the time you spec it up, that might well be more like probably 900,000, particularly once you've included VAT on top. Now, you've got a choice of engines on this boat. You can either have the 480 horsepower Volvo D6, or you can have the IPS 600 with twin 440 horsepower. So you can either have V-drive shafts or IPS drives, give you a speed of around about 30 knots, but it's very nice to have the option of either shaft or IPS drive. So let's have a little bit of a look at the exterior first of all. You can see there's masses of glass all the way along that hull. We've got huge windows all the way through, running right up to the bow. And then of course these fabulous folding balconies. Now, one of the big changes between this and the previous model is the fact that you've got glass in the balconies themselves. So you can see here, we've got it folded down, but there is a big glass section. It doesn't really show up that well on a black boat show stand, but that is glass. So both when it's upright, you get a view through it of the sea, but particularly when it's folded down, you then have a fantastic view of the sea through the floor. But before we go on board, let's just have a little bit of a look at what's going on at the stern here. You can see we've got a hydraulic platform, and these steps here, when that platform drops down, that will make a really nice, gentle staircase down into the sea. So rather than having to jump down or having a ladder, there is a gently sloping staircase leading down to it. Obviously, you can put a tender on the platform here. It's all drains, so you can launch the tender very easily. We've got a ladder over here, and then rather nice the way the teak wraps up onto the transom itself. Now, these are useful little storage lockers. You open up, you can see that's actually all part of the same locker. It runs all the way through. Very handy for putting fenders and the like. You're obviously not going to get a fender or anything in there, but a tender, but you will get fenders, lines, and maybe inflatable stand-up SUPs, that kind of thing. We've also got a really big wet bar on the stern here. Let me give you a peek at inside this. Oh, there is a release there. Might have to do this two-handed. There we go. Open that up and look at the size of that. Huge, huge wet bar. Grill at the back. You've got sinks on board. And the lovely thing about having this at the back of the boat is when you've anchored up, the prevailing wind is going to be coming along the boat, so that will take smells away from the back of the boat. So really nice to have a great big wet bar there. And it also keeps you a little bit out of the way of the guests. Right, just before we go on board, let me see if I can tweak these settings a bit to get rid of the flickers. So the cockpit here makes full use of those folding platforms. You can see there's one on both sides. So we can't pull that down because that goes out into the hall, but you can see how that runs through. And there you can get a better view of the glass there. Look at that. So you can imagine that with the beautiful turquoise sea behind, whether that's upright or folded down, you get a terrific view. Now, another thing they've done rather cleverly, you used to have quite stiff gates to lift up and out. And here they've just put a much simpler sliding one that just slides away in there. So much less of a wrestling match. You literally just pull it out, slide it across, safely in place. Now, there's a big table here. You can see that that very simply lifts up and over. And into place there is a support, I think, that pulls out. That's what I'm missing. There we go. So big support there. Really big table, so very nice sociable seating area there. Lift that back, slide it back in. And then there's lots going on here too. So this, you can see the seat at the moment is facing in to make the most of the table, but that backrest also lifts up and over. And that's the perfect spot to sit. When you've got that balcony down, you can really make the most of that little corner there. Similar thing going on here. We've got a seating area around the saloon, but you can see that that backrest lifts over too. So you can again face out into the cockpit if you want to. And in fact, that whole seat swings out. It's a little bit hard to do one-handed, but if you can imagine, that whole seat swings out, and then you've got a big line of seating that all lines up, and a really big socializing space. And of course these doors, they're bifold doors, so they tuck right the way over there. Then you've got a lovely opening into the saloon. But before we go inside, let's just do a quick tour of the outside of the yacht so you can see how that all works. So really nice tall bulwarks on the side. That gives good protection as you come up. Really big opening door here into the helm station, but we'll have a look at that in a minute. But let's carry on round up onto the foredeck first. Now these fender baskets, they're not going to be standard because they do slightly get in the way. It's nice to be able to have them there, but for me that just extends a little bit too far. But you've got a really good seating area, sunbathing area out here on the foredeck. You can see the backrests flip up, so you can have some support for your head if you want to lie there and read, or stretch out completely. There's a very neat little bench here. Admittedly, it is quite low level. It's a bit of a stretch down, but it's actually pretty comfortable. You can sit up here comfortably enough with a little backrest. You can imagine having a drink here, watching the sun go down. Now that backrest does fold away. If you want to tidy it up, you can see that just folds down into that space there. That goes back on top, and then you've got a completely flat sun pad. And the other thing to notice is that under this cushion here, if you lift it up, there is a big old run of glass that lets light down into the cabin beneath. So when you're running at speed or you haven't got guests on the foredeck, you can lift up that cushion and then have lovely light flooding down into the cabin below. Big single-piece windscreen, huge windscreen wipers. Look at the size of that. And then coming back down this side deck, again, another big opening window here directly by the galley. But we'll go and have a look in that inside in a second. Come back down, and here we are back in the cockpit. But let's have a quick look up on the Flybridge before we go inside. Now remember, this is only a 44-foot boat, and look at the size of this Flybridge. Really big Flybridge area up here. Rather nice little chaise longue effect there. You can fold that down, but again, just gives a bit of support if you want to use that as a sun pad. Another massive table up here. You can see that that bit folds out. Have a full wrap of seating around there. There's another folding section up here. So that folds out and complete the whole set of a really huge table, but you can see why they want that folded away. So there's a nice passageway up from the staircase. It means you can very easily move forward to the helm position. Here you've got the helm seat itself. Nicely protected, good tall windscreen, and you're very close to it, so the air should come up and over your head while you're sat there. And you'll see that the backrest here also flips over. See if I can do that one-handed. Actually, that's really nice and light and easy. And then that section of seating can join all the others around this huge table. And really, I mean, you could fit probably a dozen people up here if you really wanted to. I'm not suggesting you necessarily would or should, but there is a huge amount of seating if you want it. Quite low level helm station, but actually that's rather nice. It gives you a nice clear view forward. Steering wheel, all the controls here. Got the twin Volvo throttles. You've got the joystick, so this is probably fitted with the IPS drives, so they can steer exactly where you want. You've got those steerable pods underneath the boat. Really good and efficient because it's got less drag than the shafts. And then you've also got the benefit of independently steerable pods, so you can literally go where you want it. You can go sideways, backwards, twist it on the spot. And you've got a bow thruster too, so you really have got the best of both worlds. And in fact, you've got the zip wake automatic trim tab system. So you literally press the auto button on that, and that will take care of the side-to-side trim, as well as the bow and stern trim level. So should all be taken care of automatically. Nice little wrap of seating around here, so you've got a sociable arrangement next to the helm. You can chat to your passengers underway, and then a wet bar over on the port side. Again, everything you want. That's rather nice to see. So that's a wooden chopping board. It's the sink infill, but there's a nice place to stow it. You're not left with a big chunky heavy thing that you don't know where to store. Got a little grill up here, fridge underneath. I won't bother opening that. And then more storage underneath there. So everywhere you are, you've got 3 different cooking stations on this boat. You've got this one, you've got the one on the bathing platform, and of course you've got the one in the saloon. So let's go down and have a look inside the boat. So here we go. Oh, we've got a bit of flashing going on. Let's see if we can control that. If I hold it steady, we should be all right. So we've already had a look at these rear seats, the way that backrest moves across. That obviously makes a really nice big wrap of seating around the table. There is another seat over on the port side. We've got a storage unit over here. I think that's got just more storage in there. You've got the AV system underneath, they're all tucked in there. Now, lots and lots of different colour options. They have huge variety. There are no less than 12 different woods you can specify on this boat, so you really can choose exactly the colour you want. I'm sorry if there's a bit of flickering. I've tried changing all the different settings and nothing quite seemed to get rid of it. But we've got a sink here, we've got a 2-ring burner, we've got an oven, we've got a fridge, and that huge opening window I mentioned earlier. That's really nice to be able to see. You've got masses of fresh air coming through the boat, so you don't need to rely on air conditioning to keep it cool. And then over on the starboard side, again, try and kill that flickering, but the big double helm seat, pod-like station in front of you. We've only got one big screen and a small Volvo Penta engine management system, but you could definitely have space for 2 big screens there if you want to. We've got all the controls for the navigation, for the anchor, the windows, the wipers, everything you need there. And of course that huge helm door. It's much more than a door really. It's effectively a kind of sliding bulkhead, if you like, that gives massive access. It's not just for squeezing through, it opens up the whole boat. Now let's see if we can drop downstairs. Not quite sure. Seem to have different flickering situations in every cabin at the moment, but let's see if you can bear with us. Now, so this is the forward VIP. Now there are 2 different options down below. You can either have a 3-cabin layout or a 2-cabin layout. This is the 3-cabin, and it does feel quite busy down here, but nevertheless, it's very rare to be able to get 3 cabins on board a 44-foot boat. So this is the forward VIP. You can see the bed is a little bit offset in the cabin. Rather than having an island berth, there's not quite enough room for a central island berth. So it is a slightly unusual shaped bed. There's plenty of space on it. It just makes it a little bit awkward when you're trying to find sheets that fit, for example. But you've got big hull windows up here, either side. Very nice headboard with lighting behind it. And then over on the port side, we've got another big window, we've got an opening porthole, we've got cupboards and drawers, lots of storage on there. Let's see if we can have a quick look in there. Nice lit cupboard in there, hanging wardrobe. And then coming back through the boat. So this is the shared bathroom. So you've got a shower compartment with the toilet in the shower compartment. Actually quite a good size overall, but you have got that compromise of having the toilet within the shower compartment. Otherwise, very nicely done, very nice and clean, big window. And over on the port side, there is the 3rd cabin. So this is a bunk cabin. Again, slightly unusual shaped beds to make the most of the space. But again, a really big hull window. It's really nice to see that. If you are going to sleep in a small cabin, it makes such a difference to have a big window, lots of natural light, little opening section in it too, 2nd bunk underneath, and a big hanging cupboard. So even though it is a 3rd cabin, you actually get quite a lot of space in there. Now, obviously, if you go for the 2-cabin layout, you both have bigger ensuite bathrooms and more space all round. But this is the master cabin, and it is a full beam master cabin, which again, on a 40-foot boat or 44-foot boat, is pretty remarkable. So this time you have got more or less central berth. It looks a little bit offset to port. I think that's right. There's a little bit more space on this side of the boat than the other. And again, slightly unusual shape. They've just taken the corner off a bit to give a bit more room to move around the boat. There are a few different layers going on here. We've got a step down just where I'm kneeling here, and there is various steps in the ceiling. So it's not full standing headroom. That's just not going to happen on a boat of this size. But you have got the benefit of a full beam space, again with big windows either side. So if I show you here, I can stand up in the entrance. There's plenty of headroom here. But then when I come forward, I have to duck a little bit to come down there. And then there is actually another cutout here. So there are places you can stand in and around the cabin, but not absolutely everywhere. But of course you can sit on the bed, and then there's plenty of headroom. Okay, so there is a vanity unit over on the starboard side of the boat. Got a bit of a desk here, lift up lid with a mirror on it. And then this is rather clever. Under here, there is a pull-out stool. So again, it's nice and out of the way when you're not using it. But when you want to, if I just flick that out, that swings out. And then you've got a nice little seat there too. Lots of storage all around, both sides. And then over on this side, another sideboard unit with lots more cupboards down there. Now there's a step up here. It is a little bit offset towards this side of the bed, so there's not standing headroom on this side, but there's plenty of space to bend down and crawl onto the bed or get down on your knees. Decent seating headroom when you are there. There's a little bit of intrusion right over the head of the bed, but there's enough space to sit up and read a book in bed. So there we go. And of course, there is an ensuite bathroom, this being the master cabin. This time there is a separate shower. The toilet is over on the other side, and then the sink in the middle, making the most of that big hull window, again with an opening porthole. Okay, so this boat is fitted with the D6 IPS 600s. It's a little bit cramped down here. Actually, there's quite good space ahead of them, so why don't I see if I can creep forward of the engines. Then there's a bit of a step down, and now we can get a better view of those engines. So there you see it, the twin IPS. If you go for the shaft drive option, then it's on V drive, so the engine, the shaft output is actually on the front of the engine. It comes forward and then reverses in a V shape back out under the boat, and that's what enables it to effectively be mounted in the same location as the IPS pods, but with the drive coming off forward and then straight back, so that they're still quite far back in the boat, leaving all that space forward for the cabins. And we can see we've got all the electric panels up here. We've got the house batteries, more house batteries, fire suppression system, exhaust, and then moving back aft, you can see, because this is on a stand at the show, they haven't got the pods installed, but you can see where the pods would be installed through those oval-shaped holes in the bottom of the hull. And in fact, we've even got the propellers, the forward-facing propellers that attach to it. More batteries and a small generator over there. So actually, although there's not a lot of standing headroom down there, as you see, I'm standing on the checker plate beneath me, but there's actually quite a lot of space in the engine bay when you do get down there either side of the engine. So let's finish up standing on those iconic platforms. That is the new Galeon 440 Fly. I hope you enjoyed the tour. Please let me know what you think about it in the comments below, and I look forward to catching you on the next one.